Alright everybody, it's Thursday evening and we're going to do an impromptu around the world update here, just because. Squeaker just walked in the room and joined us, so don't be surprised if we hear some meowing in the background. And now I just saw a little Princess Sassafras ran in, so we're probably going to hear some stuff going on behind us there. That wasn't meowing, but it's definitely stuff going on behind us. Anyway, I feel like I had a lot going on this week. I kind of did, but I kind of don't. So we're going to talk about all that. My 29-gallon miscellaneous here does have one new fish in it. And the new fish that is in there, I don't even see it anywhere. It's one of the female guppies that was in my quarantine tank. If you follow along with my videos, you'll know that I had several resident female guppies that I just sort of let live in the quarantine tank. Well, I needed the quarantine tank, and I didn't want those guppies in there because those guppies may be fin nippers, and you never know. So I did redistribute the guppies. I put one in this tank. I think I put one in the Gourami tank, and I put a couple in the pea puffer tank upstairs. So that's something you can look forward to for the next pea puffer tank video that I do. Other than that, nothing's really going on in this tank. Not really going to talk about that much longer, so we will go on and we will look here at the Gourami tank. And I don't have anything going on in this tank yet, but I will soon, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I did do a trip to the fish store yesterday. We got rid of that Mayan cichlid. We'll talk more about that when I get over to the native tank. But while I was there, I did pick up 4 fish. So that'll be something to look forward to. I'll give you some hints and teasers maybe, but we're not going to have a look at or talk about them just yet. What I did do in this tank this week was a water change and a big plant clearing. You can see my red tiger lotus here is very much more cleared out. And a while ago, just because I was getting a little nervous about the water circulation in this tank and the potential for oxygen deprivation, I have had issues with that in the past in some of my tanks, getting a little too still on the surface. So what I did was, here's that Chinese butterfly fish, or the Hillstream loach. Awesome little fish in there. So what I did was I rolled my spray bar around. So instead of spraying down the back of the glass like I normally would, I was more concerned with keeping the water moving from the bottom and then sort of flowing across the bottom and pushing back up. So I rolled that over, so I've now got more surface agitation, and you can see a lot of ripples on the surface. But now that I've cut back a lot of the tiger lotus that was all floating on the surface and sort of blocking any kind of current from moving, I actually get some really nice gentle movement of the leaves in there, and I really like it. It looks a lot better to me. So I'm definitely going to have to work on staying on top of keeping this tank a little bit more groomed down. I could probably go through here now that I'm looking at it. You can see what that Hillstream loach is chewing on is all these sort of dark leaves. They're almost skeletonized at this point. Or maybe that's just stuff on them. Some of them look like they've been skeletonized, but I could probably get in there and really clean through a lot of that. It's not difficult to see where the new growth is versus the older stuff. That new growth in there is like vibrant, bright green and beautiful. I don't know why I'm having such problems focusing here tonight. So anyway, we will have additions to this tank soon, but as I said, we're not going to be talking about that just yet, so sit tight and we'll get to that eventually. My T-bar tank, nothing going on with this tank, although now that I'm having a look around, I just noticed a little shiny silver flash over here that I shouldn't have seen, and it looks like I've got a dead hatchet fish stuck to the power head back there. That's interesting. Haven't had any issues with the hatchet fish. Those silver hatchet fish actually seem to be very hardy fish. So I think I also put another guppy in here. I believe this larger one was the one that was already in here, so probably this one I think I saw over here. Yeah, this is the one I just added back there. So that's another guppy that I had to move out of the tank, the quarantine tank, just to make room. And then other than that, nothing's going on. We will have a new addition to this tank in the very near future as well. That's one of the fish that I needed to make room in the quarantine tank for is going to be coming into this tank. So again, that's all you're going to know about it just yet, but we'll get to it soon. Now that I see him on the back, if you look at the rubber lip back there, look how much cleaner this tank is and it's pretty much all that one rubber lip that I put in here since getting rid of, man, they're fast. That one rubber lip I put in here since getting rid of that Chinese algae eater, and he's already got the back glass that cleaned. It was getting really dirty for a while. You can actually see sort of the markings on it where he's made patterns and trails where he's slid across it, scraping it. So good for him. Hopefully this tank will get cleaned up really nicely here over time. So this is my Black Ghost knifefish tank. I did actually get a little bit of video the other night of my Black Ghost knifefish, but my battery died while videoing and I lost all of the video, so we don't have any of it. It wasn't that much, but compared to what we usually see of this fish, it was a lot. We got, 2 flashes of it. It swam from one cave to the other, and then it stuck its head fully out of the cave several times. So it is in there. It is still doing its thing. It still looks healthy enough to me. It really doesn't look like it's getting much bigger. I know they're supposed to get huge, but he really seems to have topped out around 9 inches. It just seems like forever since he's gotten much bigger than that. So maybe I keep such a low diet in this tank. I don't really feed him a whole lot. I don't know. Another thing I am thinking about doing with this tank is putting some neons in here. I don't remember if I talked about this or not. I may have. In fact, I was probably talking about it in the video where we actually lost the video. But I was discussing the idea of my other quarantine tank that's in my bathroom down here. The one that I've got in my shower has a bunch of neons in it. And I was thinking about putting some neons in this tank. And I don't know whether they would survive or not. I know the little glow light tetras and the little Raspora hets in here have done fine. Maybe the odd one goes missing here and there, but they really have not. The numbers haven't really dwindled, so I don't really foresee them being taken out of here by that Black Ghost. However, I don't really know what their sleeping habits are. I do know that neons sleep very close to the bottom, and that just makes them really susceptible to the nighttime hunters and the scavengers that come out at night, like the catfish and stuff. So presumably neons in this tank would be snack food for the Black Ghost knifefish. I'm not really sure how that would work or not, so we'll see what happens with that. I am actually planning on doing a video here soon where I talk about live feeder fish and so on and so forth, because I've had plenty of controversy over time on this tank, my native tank, where we've had lots of animals getting eaten and chewed up, and violence and aggression and so on and so forth. So I do want to talk a little bit about that in an upcoming video. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss that whenever I do get around to doing it. That's just one of those back burner kind of things. This tank is my native tank, and I finally got that Mayan cichlid out of here. I did my best this evening, actually not very long ago. You can see how filthy the tank still is, all the detritus and debris swirling around in there. I got in there as best I could and straightened the gravel back out. There's our Chinese algae eater making an appearance, and there goes the Chinese algae eater. So I'm back to not really knowing what I want to do with this tank. The minnows look a lot more happy. We could probably, if nothing else, just throw some more minnows in here just for the time being. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to throw a bunch of minnows in the tank and then next week decide that that's not going to work because I'm going to add this kind of fish or that kind of fish. I've had so many different ideas run through my head. I try not to dwell on them or give them too much weight because they are just ideas. But the most recent one was making it into a brackish tank. Most of the fish that are in there could stay in there in brackish water. The crayfish could stay in there in brackish water. I could get some cool fish like some hog suckers, which are sort of like, they're like a flatfish. They're like a flounder sort of. But they only get about 6 or 7 inches long. They're not very cool in most tanks, but I could see it being something that could work in this tank. Butterbean could go in there. And, I was having all these ideas, and then I had to just stop myself and say, wait a minute, I can't, this is ridiculous. I can't think of 94 different ways I could set this tank up. But there's no harm in having fun with my imagination. I really, honestly, I wouldn't allow Butterbean to be in a tank that has crayfish in it, just on the off chance he would get injured. I think it's probably far more likely that the crayfish would be in danger of being injured by Butterbean, although Butterbean is so timid, that's not necessarily true. But a figure 8 in general would probably be more preying on the crayfish than vice versa. But I still wouldn't want to take the chance on even having Butterbean in a tank with crayfish, so that was just a passing thought, and it seemed kind of fun to toy with the idea of making this into a big brackish tank, and, there's some other fish I could add in here, maybe some archers or scats or, mono. There's all kinds of stuff I could do with this tank if I made it brackish. So again, we'll see. At this point, I'm beginning to think maybe leave the sunfish in here for a little while, put some larger stuff in there that the sunfish can't eat just yet, and maybe do that way for a little while. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I don't want to get hung up on this tank. I can spend way too much time thinking about that one. My snail tank actually looks nice and good. It looks like a snail tank again. You will see I've got some broken up eggshells in there. That's to do nothing more than provide a little bit of calcium. It slowly dissolves into the water, and since I more or less don't do water changes on this tank, it's nice to have a little source of calcium in there for the snail shells. My water has no calcium, none. It goes through a treatment system, and when it comes out the other side, I know for a fact it has 0 calcium, and the snail shells get so soft that you can't even pick them up. They're just like paper shells. So that doesn't do me much good to feed them to my puffers, for the sake of keeping their teeth trimmed down. I want that hard shell on there. So there has to be at least a little bit of calcium in the water, and for me, simply throwing some eggshells in there solves that problem. Done and done. So getting on to my gudgeon tank. Still haven't made any changes on this. I had thought about maybe trying to catch the gudgeon and taking it down to the fish store with me on the same day that I, do that. But I at least have to go down in that area once a month. I have some customers down there. I actually went all the way down to the fish store yesterday, and then came all the way back up, and then went all the way back down again and did my customers today, just because it was so stressful dealing with that fish and getting it boxed up and catching it, and that was a 5-hour ordeal by the time I finally got done shooting all the video while I was there. And the post office wouldn't take it. I had to take it to some other location and get them to ship it for me, and so that actually turned out to be a 5-hour day, just shy of 5 hours, about 4 hours and 45 minutes from the time I left to the time I got back home. Speaking of which, when I shot my not my Round the World update, my fish tour video, while I was down there, my phone battery died, and what I had to do was use my head cam, so it's not a very good video. I've previewed a little bit of it so far. I will be releasing that tomorrow evening, Friday evening. It's about 30 minutes long, so it's a serious tour all the way through the store. But it's with my GoPro, so you got that wide fisheye angle, and if it's more than 6 inches in front of the camera, you get like no detail and you can't see it. That camera's terrible at distances. So it is what it is. I did the best I could at the time, but we will get down there again very soon. I've got my eye on a few fish that I might be going down and picking up, because they've got 700 or more tanks down there, and there's just no way you can take it all in one visit, and there's no way you can go in there and not come out seeing something you wanted to buy while you were in there. So I will probably be going back here very soon, and we'll get some better video. I'll make sure my phone's fully charged when we go in there, and we'll get some up-close video with this camera where we can actually see into the tanks and see what's going on. My 125 doesn't really have anything going on in it this week, so we're going to be kind of brief on this one. I don't want to make this a very long video. My back's already starting to hurt again. I definitely think I've got some long-term stuff going on within my back, so we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out. Maybe one of these days I'll see if I can't afford to get to a doctor or something. But that'll be down the road. Anyway, not a lot going on in this tank. I haven't really done anything. I did shoot a little bit of video about the fish in here. I talked about the what I'll just call plecos for now that were in this tank. I'll attach a card if you want to watch that video. I just discussed the ancestris and the hypancistris species, and I got it wrong. I thought I was going to get it wrong when I was shooting the video. The one that I called the ancestris is really the hypancistris, and the one that I called the hypancistris is actually the ancestris. So if you do watch that video, just reverse what I said they are, and you've got it right. So other than that, not a lot going on. I do want to get in here and sort of reposition the way that Java Fern is sitting. Got to watch my step. I'm going to be walking on cats here in a minute. The Java Fern seems to have come loose from underneath that piece of wood a little bit, so I'd like to get that tucked back in and, looking a little more appropriate in there rather than just sort of flopping around like that. My Brackish tank is still in need of a water change. This is the last tank I really feel like I need to do to get caught up on. You can see the glass is all filthy. It's been a couple of weeks at least, probably. Actually, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it with my hurt back, I know I managed to get one water change done when I was still, barely able to get around. So that was a couple weeks ago. It's probably been maybe 3 weeks since I've done a water change in here. Other than that, nothing's really going on. My plants are still sort of struggling to get by. They always do. It's brackish water, so it's really tough to acclimate plants and get them to live. When they do, they usually tend to be very stunted and small. Let's see if I can get down here, and we'll look up there at that floating water sprite. See, it's well enough. It's green, but the roots are tiny little stubs. It's not flourishing or growing. When you see the water sprite floating in my other tanks, it's just everywhere like mad. Now, these little endlers in there might be nibbling on the roots a little bit to some small degree, but they're not going to be doing any serious damage. So that's, not growing like that because of the brackish water, not because of the fish are in there chewing on it. And for all of those of you who are used to seeing Butterbean all swollen up like he just swallowed a marble, that's what Butterbean looks like before he has his dinner. I have not actually gotten in here and fed everybody tonight. That's why everybody seems so fussy. They think I'm coming in here to feed them, but I'm really not. I'm coming in here to video them. So there's Butterbean. This is my brackish tank. We're going to call it good and move on to the next one. I'll give you a very quick look. That was my quarantine tank. I've got some new fish in there. We're not going to look at them just yet. Oh, wow. Check this out. We got a dead crab. And that definitely looks like a dead crab and not a sloughed shell. I've never seen one like that just lying on its back. I wonder what's going on with that. I did just do a water change in this tank yesterday or the day before. Can't remember which, but it was not long ago. At the most, it was 2 days ago. I scrubbed the glass, and I did a really, really thorough water change. I drained it almost completely, refilled it with fresh water, just enough to get some water back in it, and that enabled me to use the gravel vac again and do a second vac. And then when I refilled it the second time, I actually put the brackish water back in and got the salinity back up to where it's supposed to be. So now we've got a nice clear tank again. We can see through the glass, and everybody in there fish-wise looks like they're doing okay. But I've lost one of these little crabs. I seriously doubt it's old age. I would imagine they have a lifespan of a few years at least, and I don't think I've had this tank set up for a year yet, maybe a little more than a year at the most. But that is definitely an almost dead crab. Look at him go. He's still alive. Huh. I wonder what's going on. Well, I will definitely keep my eye on that, and we'll see what happens. If it survives, I'll let you know, and if not, of course, I'll let you know as well. But we're going to wrap it up. It's getting to be a little bit longer video than I wanted. Like I said, my back's really starting to get to me, and we're almost 20 minutes in. So here's your last look at my red-clawed crab tank. And then that puts us right back here at my 29-gallon miscellaneous where we started. So thanks for coming around the world with me, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I've got all kinds of good stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss the big reveal of the fish I've got. They're going to be in quarantine for a couple of weeks. You're going to have to wait. Be patient, but the payoff will be worth it. I got some cool stuff, so you're going to look forward to that, and you'll enjoy it. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.